challenges make perfect sense when you have free time. But over the years, my free time has dwindled. Classes, jobs, doom scrolling at the state of the world deteriorating in your hands. Oh my god, never mind. He won? Okay, maybe not deteriorating. All of it can contribute to the sinking feeling that really art is just another chore. And I don't like that. Art was my escape, my rock after school. I'd be cranking out doodles to the point where sometimes I'd post multiple fully colored pieces in one day. How did I do that with the high school equivalent of a 9-to-5? Fuck if I know, dude. I had an iron will, and while I don't feel as iron-willed as of late, I want to feel the thrill of what it's like to actually create like the world's on fire. Which it is. A little. So, let's begin with exploring the beginning, the middle, and the end of this month's challenge. OC-tober. I picked a challenge that, while somewhat difficult since OCs can be a lot to manage, I don't know. It's also because I love my characters. I love creating them, putting them into interesting positions and stories. If you pick a topic that you know you're gonna have a little bit of spite for, like doing any art challenge, then at least combine it with something you like, alright? 30 backgrounds sounds super horrific until you get to draw your little silly guys in them as a treat. You gotta treatify it. So I thought I'd treatify this challenge by starting with my beautiful, my beloved, my girl that I draw far too much but also not enough at the same time. Folks, give it up for Amaranthia. Insert last name that I'm still debating. Serpalis? Mishra? Sira? Hey, बहुत काम है ये नाम की बात. इतना काम क्यों होता है? Anyways, so I really love her. I've had this absolute diva for, God, I say this too much, but I never know who's coming to these videos and who knows her. I've had her for like 10 years. Make it a stamp, make it a t-shirt, make it earrings that I wear with my OCs plastered. She used to be me, then was redesigned by a friend and another friend, and then was slowly redesigned by yours truly a handful of times before I felt like she was Amaranthia. I yearn to make her hotter every single time. It's one of my life goals, actually. I think it's on my bucket list. I knew I was going to be low energy at the start of this challenge because I had work at the beginning of this month, and if you know anything about work, you don't just work once a month. I wish. But working 3 12-hour shifts in a row meant that I had maybe like an hour to work on these doodles at night, so these little guys had to be focused. No coloring, no thoughts, head empty, basic doodles. I know you see me coloring right now, and I will explain it. So, I took a page out of Teenage Me's book. I really like this old doodle of Amy blushing. It feels very tweencore, had to do it. I needed a good redraw to fuel my ego for the rest of this challenge. I also really liked how I used flat colorways on a white page to make characters pop, so that's what I did. Amy has never been blue, by the way. It's just a basic color fill. It's not her real colors. But I digress. I colored this doodle and the next 2 after my 3 days of crunch time. During my 3 days, it was purely focused on getting my ideas down. And within that same vein, you do not have to do prompts fully each day. I knew my capacity. I was not going to fully color these all at the same time as I did the initial sketch. It's about knowing your limits and not burning out, okay? The goal is to complete the challenge to your limits, not what other people's limits are. Don't go onto social media and stare at other people making masterpieces every day. It is going to be a bad time. These next 2 prompts focused on my favorite and underrated OCs, you know, like my favorite couple and all that stuff, had me looking back at my old art once again. My favorite OCs are not that surprising. You've already met one of them before. Anyway, but Callum, this boy toy over here, he's 10 out of 10 romancing Amy, and God, maybe I shouldn't just talk about these 2 every video, but it's gonna keep happening, okay? I love them. I gotta yap. This pose, though, was an old one that I had been trying to draw months back. It's such an intimate, tender photo that I had to get in on it. The issue is, though, it's really hard to draw. When I had originally tried my hand at it, it was disaster after disaster of very specific angles and contact points, and like the hands or the knees or connecting weird or literally every part of the body. Nightmare. Although, when I came back to it during OC-tober, I think the exhaustion of work was in my favor because it turned out just as juicy as I wanted it. Because I was trying to save some time, I also used colors from a comic I did to help me in finishing up this piece. Wonderful decision. I was very, very pleased with how it ended up. As you can see, the month-long endeavor that this was, the goal was reducing, reusing, and recycling. If I have limited time, I'm pulling out the old-ass doodles wherever I feel like it. There's countless artworks that I keep thinking I have to clean up and make pretty before I can ever show them, and that is held back a lot of my creations. They gather dust, stand with no one to look at them. Not that having private art is a bad thing, obviously. There's some stuff I can't show on this channel, but these are characters that I want to talk about, so I might as well use the line art I already have to create something new. And if we're talking about something new, these underappreciated OCs on day 3 fit the bill. The concept is about how praying mantises cut off the heads of the lovers they mate with. Thus, I conceived a local mantis girly who works at a murder brothel where they simultaneously flirt with and kill the clientele. She's been hunting for someone to get married to and then finds one such person. But at what cost? Dun dun dun! Yes, I'm doing prompts out of order. I had to find my motivation after those 12-hour shifts to sit down and use a pen, so it was inevitable that I was just gonna pick the ones that I liked. Callum actually knows these two since his mother used to work as a bodyguard for the place. Weird connections are in my stories everywhere because I will find every excuse to connect my OCs into one big ol' world. I based her lover off of Mimir, the smartest man alive in Norse mythology, who had his head cut off. I'd like to imagine that the lover was trying to break a bond he had with his previous clan through the most obvious option, faking his death. And now he just has a broken curse and a body that his skull rolls off of sometimes, courtesy of a witch who helped them out. Look, God of War probably had some inspiration for this, I'm not gonna lie. The mind was minding. I didn't get a chance to draw this image, which is one where the mantis girl has his head in her lap while his body is holding her up, so I didn't get to draw his top scars. Shame. Shame on me. Shame. And that was week 1. As you may have noticed, I didn't do 7 drawings. I didn't even do 5. I just did 3, which brings me to my next survival tip. You don't have to do all the prompts for a challenge. I know there's this really weird pressure to create for every single day and every idea on a list, and if you want to, that's perfectly valid. But for me, I prefer picking and choosing. It is not my ideal to fight every battle that comes my way. I'd rather, throw down on my own home territory. Does this metaphor even make any sense? Basically, do what you want. You deserve to not suffer in your journey to improve. Is it still going to happen? Yes, I am still haunted by Scott Robertson's How to Draw. The perspective in that book is an experience. There will be pain, but it doesn't always have to be that way. I'd like the journey to be comfortable because this is the road that I'm going to travel on most of the time. Moving on, for week 2, I was picking my delights to draw and dug up these old sketches. This girl is one of the many gods I've been chipping away at for Amy and Callum's story. She rules over plague and abundance and gets a festival every once in a while to ensure good harvest and, not getting the germs. With her animals, I was going for abundance and infestation types of animals, but the infestation took more center stage. Truly, if I wanted this 100% accurate, I should have just added dogs in there. Because, if you see a dog in India walking around, you are running. Preferably away. Rabies is nasty. You don't mess with wild animals, man. Look, okay, dogs are cool, and also don't get rabies, please, thanks. I combined her festival a little bit with Diwali, since I imagined the lights at night would drive her away from homes, which, is technically the opposite of what Diwali does, but I don't think most people want the plague. For those who don't have their houses filled with light, though, the horrors shall take hold. For a pilot episode, this is the ideal setting, a script that I probably need to write on another day. This god, like most gods, has multiple forms. I had a few palettes I tested out on her, and the new one I did for the challenge is more my vibe than the old. It gives the feeling of someone trying to lure you in, deeper and deeper, until there is nothing left. Okay, transition. My friend, who I unfortunately roped into my Amicalum madness, asked me for a modern AU of these two months ago, and was expecting a good old slice of life. But I am nothing without my melodrama. Alas, they cannot escape it. So, here is a modern AU where the roles get reversed from the original story a little bit. We've got librarian Amy and pop star / supermodel Callum. In it, they meet a little bit before or during their work in different sections of the military as a way to gain citizenship. Or one of them already had it and was trying to gain it for other family members. I'm still deciding. It would be a really harsh experience. And after discharge, they'd start dating and pursuing career paths, with Callum really wanting to conserve the arts and Amy wanting to write stories. But both of them get sidetracked by the way Callum's personal music gains popularity. Thus, insecurity, unfulfilled dreams, and fans trying to harass and uncover Amy's identity, while also trying to claim more and more ownership over Callum's personal life. It causes, unsurprisingly, a ton of mental breakdowns for Amy, and Callum can't stand to see her get hurt so much. So, a good old secret breakup to keep the fans from harassing them happens. Alas, they still want to kiss. You let me know if you think it happens. I honestly just drew this image because I feel like the amount of thirst traps Amy would see of Callum has gotta be ungodly. Like, it cracked me up really bad drawing it. Plus, them seeing each other after the breakup would be them both banging their heads against the wall as to portray how down bad they are. It's a down bad life. I love this AU. It's infested in my brain. Here is a veil drawing inspired from it. Shout out to my friend for lovingly suggesting this and not knowing what she unleashed. And all of this brings us to week 3. I had to conserve my energy last week because this one was a full-blown animation. The prompts in this video were ones I combined from the Be Weirds 2025 and Moonscare's 2024 OC-tober lists, but this one was based on the thought of memes. So I already made a whole other video about the process, but to summarize, I chose the song Your Hips, Your Thighs, and did, in fact, speedrun making an animation meme, featuring one of the very weird comments I sometimes get about Amaranthia on YouTube. Every once in a while, there's just a couple of freaks, and not the fun ones. But the good thing about freaks is it's a great excuse to use them to do this meme, so it worked out. I don't know, man, maybe if you wanted a girlfriend, you should be nice to girls. Since that was our only prompt for week 3, it brings us to the final art pieces I made for OC-tober that I completed in November. Time constraints are only as limiting as you desire them to be, but in all unseriousness, for this prompt, New OCs, there's an art piece I did of a succubus x vampire pairing that I'm very fond of and wanted to clean up. I think it's interesting to have supernatural creatures in a modern world where they're just trying to survive and thrive. Jobs do be suckin' is the takeaway. But one of my favorite tropes is an ooey gooey friends to lovers type of thing, so of course I had these losers do so. I am living it up in cringy romances and thriving. I love adding little details to stuff, like the port wine stain on the vampire and the ileostomy bag for the succubus. And fun fact, I've drawn the vampire character in my nursing school projects because I gotta find an outlet to have fun somewhere in college paperwork madness. And with all of my doodling, I eventually ended up with a good old polycule / double date, we'll see, with this Medusa-esque character and this zombie / ghoul / some type of necrotic person. We'll work out details, but I haven't ironed out the ghoul's design as well as I have with these two. if you're wondering about the jobs that these people have, because of course I've thought this much about this, Vampire is a burnt out new grad nurse, the Ghoul is a burnt out old grad nurse, Medusa is a sculptor because, you know, the whole thing with turning bodies to stone, and the Succubus is like the modern equivalent of a dream brothel worker. She sends people to sleep and then impersonates their beloveds in their dreams for a price. Next up on the drawing block was the theme of symbols and themes. This slightly spooky girly I used is someone I'm ironing out for a god of cycles in the Amy Callum story. She is all about cyclical things, right? So she has follicular tubes, placentas, and more of a sickly green color to her. I wanted some forms that are more disturbing and sad alongside the ones depicted here, like how deers have crooked necks when they survive road accidents. Truly, the goal is to make her body into shapes that bring fear, okay? Gimme the fear shapes. Her second form also has this Princess Mononoke vibe to her, which I really enjoy. I like how it turned out. I'll keep working on giving people fear shapes. With every other prompt completed, it was really hard to pick a final one for this girl. Tulsi is someone whose design I love, but I would never want to meet her. Spooky and all-powerful, and quite frankly, a little messed up. I probably could have just combined these two prompts, but quite frankly, that's a lot of text. Tulsi knows Amaranthia, and their relationship is unfun for them, but great fun. Sometimes, for me. Mostly. Sometimes it's horrific. Like one of the Little Mermaid AUs I made had Tulsi as the witch who steals the Little Mermaid's voice. And since the original has the girl's tongue being cut off, my thought process was to make Tulsi bite off Amaranthia's tongue, which of course didn't awaken anything in any of my friends. People did not become freaky in a fun way over this, of course. It was what I wanted. I wanted chaos, alright? And also the Instagram post, I mean, it had the caption, "Good luck, babe." Come on. This AU was also inspired by Tack Wither's gorgeous comic Before the Wedding. Please read it. Their art style is such a joy. With the whole cursed romance route this final week took, I drew the rare pair / crack ship prompt because really, if I did any real rare pairs of my OCs, it would mostly be characters none of you would know because I never draw them on here. But there are some ships that I feel really speak to me. Amaranthia reigns supreme as the most shippable girl in my roster of weirdos. She can't keep getting away with it. Her bisexual greed is unmatched. Oh, I love her. Drew her with Tulsi due to the aforementioned dynamic I already aforementioned. And also drew her with Lucy, a shapeshifter who shapeshifted as Amy for a while to get fat stacks of cash. She's part of my main Amy Callum crew. I promise that there's people outside of Amaranthia and Callum. This entire script was simply to prove that I do have OCs outside of my main duo, alright? You've borne witness to it. Spread the word. And with that, we are done with OC-tober, outside of a secret thing I'm animating. Shh. Thanks to my Patreons who supported this thing. Oh my gosh, look at these people. Whoa. Doing this challenge was really interesting because it helped me notice that I think Instagram is probably dying a little bit for art in like a illustration and sketch format, at least for me. The only time I really got any recognition in this challenge was doing the "your hips, your thighs" meme, which is, you know, a short form video because every platform has become TikTok. The reason that I'm talking about this is to say that whatever challenge you do, if your goal is external validation, it is going to feel like pulling teeth. You can't control what other people do. I've seen people who've tried to game algorithms, done like huge shifts in what they make because they've really wanted attention on the things that worked. But at the end of the day, it's a challenge that you chose for your benefit, right? Your growth, not anyone else saying that you've grown. The important part is to find that joy internally. It's what I received when I did this challenge because I followed what I knew worked for me, not anyone else. Okay, that's enough OC yapping. Have a good rest of your day. Keep making positive changes. Bye!